It's Donald Trump versus the fugitive drug lord El Chapo. The presidential candidate is in an international war of words with the infamous Mexican gangster who is on the run after escaping from prison. Joaquín Guzmán, known as El Chapo or Shorty, slipped out of the prison via a secret tunnel.
The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. We will show no mercy to the cartels. I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before, and it worked. Furthermore, I will order the Department of Defense to make appropriate use of special forces, cyber warfare, and other overt and covert actions to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations.
El Chapo knows what's coming. Trump is back at the White House, and now he's waging a war against the cartels like never seen before. El Chapo's criminal empire, the Sinaloa cartel, is about to crumble. Trump has promised to destroy them, cripple their operations, and take down every last one of their leaders. But El Chapo is making it very clear, this will not be easy, and it will not be without consequences. Through his legal team, he has issued a chilling message, warning that if Trump moves against the cartel the way he had threatened, the results will be more devastating than anything America has seen before. El Chapo has been locked inside ADX Florence, a maximum security prison in Colorado, since July 2019. Known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, this prison is designed for the worst of the worst. We're talking terrorists, serial killers, and the most dangerous criminals in the world. Here, inmates are trapped inside a 7 by 12-foot cell for 23 hours a day, with almost zero contact with the outside world, and the infamous billionaire Mexican drug is one of them. But somehow, his voice is still being heard. El Chapo's lawyers have recently delivered a letter to both the Mexican government and U.S. authorities.
El Chapo writing a letter to the U.S. judge and Chicago native who sent him here. In this English translation filed today and obtained by the I-Team, Chapo says prison authorities are preventing him from receiving attorney documents for new court motions. They always use the excuse that it's because Guzmán fled from a Mexican prison, he writes. This is a ridiculous claim used to justify the anomalies.
He claimed that the U.S. government is torturing him as a way of punishing him for his past prison escapes back in Mexico. He described his life in prison as worse than death, saying that the conditions he is being forced to endure are inhuman and unbearable. His complaints have been the same for years, but now things seem to be getting even worse. His food is barely edible, and he claims he is being starved of proper nutrition. He is not allowed to speak to his wife or children. He's completely cut off from his family. The only time he is let outside is 3 times a week, and even then, he is placed in a small cage with no direct sunlight. He has no human interaction, no proper medical care, and his mental and physical health is collapsing. His lawyer claims that he is slowly losing his mind inside his cell. One of the most disturbing allegations is about his dental care. El Chapo had severe pain in his teeth, but instead of treating it, prison officials allegedly ripped out his molars to shut him up. His legal team describes this as psychological torture. They said the United States government knows he is suffering, but instead of helping, they are making things worse. But here's the thing, El Chapo isn't asking for freedom. Of course, he knows he will never walk out of prison alive. What he wants now is a transfer back to Mexico, where he can serve his sentence in better conditions. His legal team insists that this is not an escape attempt. They claim that all he wants is to be closer to his family, to have proper medical care, and to not spend the rest of his life locked away in complete isolation. El Chapo has made multiple requests to be sent back to Mexico, but the U.S. has refused every single one. And now, with President Trump back in the White House, El Chapo knows that whatever chance he had of getting what he wanted is gone. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Many experts believe that El Chapo's letter to the White House is a coded message, a signal to the cartel that he is suffering, that he is being tortured, and that they need to take action. And that kind of makes sense because the Sinaloa cartel still sees El Chapo as their leader, his remaining sons, who have not been captured, and his top lieutenants are allegedly still taking orders from him, even behind bars. So, by publicly claiming that he is being abused, El Chapo may be telling them that it's time to retaliate. And some people believe that's what Trump needs to worry about, because if he moves forward with his plan to destroy the Sinaloa cartel, then El Chapo's warning might just come true. and the world could be looking at a cartel war unlike anything we've ever seen before. Meanwhile, some people may not know it, but El Chapo has quite an interesting history with President Trump. It all started when Donald Trump, who was campaigning for the presidency at the time, made some bold statements about Mexico and drug cartels on his official Twitter page. He famously accused Mexico of sending criminals and drug traffickers into the U.S., which naturally drew the ire of many, including the Sinaloa cartel. Around this time, in July 2015, El Chapo made his second infamous escape from a maximum security prison in Mexico. Then, not long after Trump's message, a Twitter account allegedly linked to Guzmán, El Chapo Guzmán, posted a threatening message directed at Trump.
Trump tweeted, "Can you envision Jeb Bush or Hillary Clinton negotiating with El Chapo?" Trump, however, would kick his blank. The drug lord is actually firing back while still on the run, on a Twitter account apparently controlled by his son. "Keep blanking around and I'll make you eat all of your blank words," he wrote in a foul-mouthed tweet aimed at Trump. The tycoon has contacted the FBI over El Chapo's threat. "I'm fighting for much more than myself," Trump said in a statement. "I'm fighting for the future of our country, which is being overrun by criminals. You can't be intimidated."
Now, there's no solid proof that El Chapo himself was behind that Twitter account. It was more likely run by his son, like the news reported, or someone impersonating him for clout. It doesn't make sense that the billionaire drug lord with his reputation would be personally active on any social media platform. Nevertheless, the idea of a narco kingpin and a future U.S. president exchanging threats online made headlines and fueled internet conspiracy theories. It was one of those bizarre moments where politics, crime, and pop culture collided in the wildest way possible. Interestingly, Guzmán was extradited to the U.S. on January 19, 2017. The day before Trump's inauguration, some speculated that this timing was a diplomatic gesture of goodwill by Mexico to the incoming administration. They believed the Mexican government was aiming to curry favor with the new president, who had been vocal about cracking down on drug trafficking and securing the border. Others, however, interpreted the timing differently. They suggested that Mexico wanted to finalize the extradition before Trump took office, thereby avoiding the appearance of yielding to his pressure. But whatever the case, El Chapo's arrival in the U.S. marked a significant victory in the fight against international drug trafficking. He was prosecuted and jailed by the Trump administration in 2019. Then, 6 years later, Trump is back at the White House, with El Chapo still in jail. And the idea that Trump would consider sending El Chapo back to Mexico to serve his time there is unthinkable. Maybe Joe Biden would have done that, but not Trump. El Chapo's lawyers have reportedly hinted that if the United States government keeps tormenting him, and if President Trump continues hunting for the cartels, there will be devastating consequences. Now, if they're saying this to scare Trump, then they would be dead wrong. Everyone knows President Trump is not the one to back down.
Our country is being poisoned from within by the drugs and by all of the other crime that's taking place. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels.
From his first day in office, he has vowed to launch a full-scale war on the drug cartels in a way that no U.S. president has ever done before. And at the top of his hit list is the Sinaloa cartel. Trump isn't playing defense anymore. He has said repeatedly that his previous administration was the toughest on cartels in modern history, and he intends to bring that strength back. But this time, his plans are even more aggressive. He wants to wipe the cartels off the face of the earth, and he's prepared to use military force to do it. In multiple speeches before and after his 2024 re-election, Trump has outlined his strategy, describing his plan to take down the Sinaloa cartel using the full power of the U.S. military. He has made one thing clear. He sees Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations, and he will treat them as such. He followed through on this by designating the Sinaloa cartel and other notorious Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations just immediately after his inauguration in January 2025.
Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
This changes everything, as President Trump now has the legal power to use U.S. special forces, drone strikes, and cyber warfare to dismantle their operations. Of course, when the need arises, his plan includes deploying elite military units inside Mexico with or without the Mexican government's approval to carry out targeted assassinations and disrupt cartel activities.
Reports say Donald Trump wants to do this with or without the consent of the Mexican government. However, U.S. military experts warn against attacking Mexico, saying that this would have limited impact on the drug trade and harm diplomatic ties between the two neighbors.
In the past, the U.S. has relied on Mexico to deal with the cartels, supplying them with military aid and intelligence. But Trump is done waiting. He has made it clear that if the Mexican government does not take immediate action against the cartels, the U.S. will step in and do it themselves. The Mexican government initially thought that Trump was bluffing, but after he slammed them with outrageous import tariffs, they knew he meant business. And that was when the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, deployed around 10,000 National Guard soldiers to the southern border to shut down cartel smuggling operations, intercept illegal gun shipments, and patrol key trafficking routes.
Mexican soldiers were mobilized to the U.S. border on Tuesday to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. It's part of a deal between U.S. President Donald Trump and Mexico's leader Claudia Sheinbaum to pause his threat of tariffs for a month.
The Mexican president followed by responding to Trump's threats to invade Mexico to hunt the cartels. She made it very clear that Mexico would not under any circumstances allow foreign forces on its soil. But Trump doesn't seem to care. He has threatened to take matters into his own hands. He reportedly said that if Mexico does not fully cooperate, the U.S. will hit the cartels with overwhelming military force. But it gets even more interesting. President Trump has also proposed deploying the U.S. Navy to block drug shipments from reaching American shores.
In addition to restoring strong border security, I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before and it worked.
His plan is to turn the Western Hemisphere's waters into a no-go zone for cartel operations. This means that the cartels won't just be fighting only Border Patrol agents anymore, they will be up against the most powerful military on Earth. But that's only one part of his strategy. Trump is also pushing for one of the harshest laws in U.S. history, a new policy that would make drug smuggling a crime punishable by death.
Finally, as I have said before, I will ask Congress to pass legislation ensuring that drug smugglers and human traffickers receive the death penalty.
This would apply to cartel leaders, drug mules, and even corrupt officials who aid the cartel's operations. This is Trump's version of no mercy, and he's not backing down. Will Trump's plans work or backfire? The battle lines have been drawn, and Trump's plan is straightforward, but brutal, and comes with huge risks. If Trump, for one, orders military action inside Mexico without the Mexican government's approval, it could lead to a deadly international crisis. The cartels, on the other hand, would see this as an act of war. The Sinaloa cartel, along with other major cartels like CJ&G, could unite against a common enemy. In the past, they've fought each other for a lot of reasons, but if they feel directly threatened by U.S. intervention, they could strike back together. The Sinaloa cartel has the money, weapons, and international connections, but more importantly, they have a presence inside the United States. Cartel-affiliated gangs already operate in dozens of major U.S. cities, where they move drugs and carry out violent crimes. And if the cartel feels cornered, some experts warn that they could go beyond drug trafficking. They could start carrying out direct attacks inside U.S. borders. Mexican cartels have never openly targeted American civilians on American soil the way terrorist groups like ISIS or Al-Qaeda have, but that doesn't mean they won't change their tactics if pushed too far. Some law enforcement officials worry that if the Sinaloa cartel is desperate enough, they could make a terrifying statement in a way America has never seen before. Meanwhile, for El Chapo himself, the future looks grim. His family has spent years begging the Mexican government to fight for his return, but now that Trump is in charge, there's no hope left. El Chapo's health is already declining, and it's becoming apparent that he will likely die inside ADX Florence, just like other high-profile criminals who have been locked in there for years. But there's one thing that could change his fate: revenge from the cartel. Right now, it seems impossible. But then again, El Chapo was never supposed to escape prison before, and he did it twice. So, there's really nothing impossible for these criminals. There have been recent reports that cartel members are now placing explosives along the border, targeting Border Patrol agents.
Don't touch, don't move, don't manipulate. Residents in Tamaulipas, which is across the border from Brownsville, woke up to a concerning message. Cartels are placing explosives like these along the roads.
Sadly, a 74-year-old, Antonio Cespedes Saldierna, was killed by one of those explosives in January 2025.
A Texas rancher, along with a U.S. citizen, were killed in an IED attack along the border, believed to have been perpetrated by the Mexican cartels. This happened just south of Brownsville, Texas, along the Mexican border in Tamaulipas. This area is known for cartel activity.
There have also been reports of other deadly encounters between cartel members and Border Patrol agents along the southern border.
On Monday, around 1:29 p.m., shots were fired at Border Patrol agents from the Mexican side. Agents took cover, they returned fire, and called for backup. This here will be drone footage from Texas DPS showing these suspected cartel members fleeing after firing shots at agents. No one was injured on either side. DHS sources telling News Nation that the cartel members were attempting to smuggle a group across the river, but none of them made it onto U.S. soil.
If that wasn't bad enough, the cartels are now targeting Border Patrol agents with weaponized kamikaze drones, while at the same time instructing migrants through social media posts to kill ICE agents in order to cross over into the United States. Now, the scary thing is this is just the beginning of this war. The events of the upcoming months or even years are uncertain, but chances are that they will be unlike anything America and Mexico have seen before, and President Trump may not have it as easy as he thinks. Let's not forget that these cartels have proven time and time again that they're not an easy nut to crack. The Sinaloa cartel, for instance, has already survived every attack thrown at them. They have outlived presidents, military operations, and rival gangs. They have seen leaders arrested, killed, and extradited, but the organization itself remains as strong as ever. Even with El Chapo locked away for life, and even with some of his sons captured, the cartel is still the most powerful drug empire on the planet. So, the big question is why? Well, the answer is very simple. They adapt and evolve. When El Chapo was arrested in 2016, many thought that his empire would collapse, but that never happened. His sons, known as Los Chapitos, quickly took over and expanded the organization. They carried on their father's reign of terror. They modernized their smuggling operations and introduced new ways to distribute drugs worldwide. So now, the real question is, can Trump actually take them down? Or will the cartel do what they've always done? Survive, adapt, and grow even stronger? Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth true crime stories like the ones on your screen right now. Click on any of the cards on your screen to watch more of our videos.